Welcome everyone, this is on Just Restart. So, I didn't necessarily plan to do this video in this way, and no, this is not the Metroid video I've been talking about for the last couple weeks. But anyway, I'm just gonna kind of do this very quick, very simple edit discussion video about Metroid Prime 4. Now, if you've been paying attention to my community post on my channel, yeah, I got into a car accident, there was a blizzard a few days ago. There's been a lot going on, so, I have to kind of change around the structure of how I'm going to be doing things within the next week or two. I'm still probably going to be making content because, well, if I'm not even working right now with a damaged car, I kind of have more time. But of course, I'm going to have to find things to do work. I have some options, so don't worry, it's not as bad as it sounds, but I have to kind of wait back on how insurance handles everything. But nevertheless, it's not supposed to be a sob story. I know some of you probably don't even know who I am and probably don't care, so let's just get into this quick little discussion about Metroid Prime 4. So as I said, I made a community post last week, right? And I was saying that, hey look, I had to delay the Metroid Prime video that I've been working on, and still am. But here's an interesting question. How many planets will there be in Metroid Prime 4? And when I mean planets that you can actually explore. I put up a poll for you guys, and I'm actually kind of surprised how many votes I got. I've never gotten this many votes for anything, and all these votes came within a day. I was quite shocked, actually. So right now, I'm looking at the community tab, looking at the polls. We got 782 votes, and these were the options for that I offered in terms of how many planets we could see in Metroid Prime 4. Just one big planet, that got 46%, that was the winner, okay? We got two twin planets at 8%, right? Maybe two twin planets, kind of like what we got in terms of Metroid Prime 2. We got Light Ether and Dark Ether, although that was the same planet, but just kind of split into two different realities. But, kind of similar concept there. Then the one that I was kind of liking, but I wasn't sure what actually happened, would be 3 planets rivaling the depth of Talon 4 and Prime 1. And then it's going to be like No Man's Sky, where it's an entire open world space with a whole bunch of planets. That got 9%. And then the 5th option I offered was the meme, why can't Metroid crawl? That got 27%. So obviously that one's just a joke. That's a meme. In case you guys didn't know about what it is, basically at one point there was a Miiverse post by somebody that asked, why can't Metroid crawl? And that kind of went viral and it became a meme. Right? Metroid are just a little monsters. Samus is the bounty hunter, the actual character, and she doesn't crawl, but she can roll in her morph ball mode to get through small crevices and such. But anyway, there are 4, I guess, actual real options here in terms of what I offered in the poll, and overwhelmingly, or the biggest one, is that there will be just one big planet in terms of what we're going to explore in Metroid Prime 4. And I definitely feel like that's the most likely outcome. I would say that there's a possibility we'll get something else, but I'll get to that in a little bit. But first, let's just kind of focus on the idea of it being just one big planet. One big planet to explore in Metroid Prime 4 is really exciting in and of itself. Regardless of how many planets we get, I think there's going to be an equal amount of work put into the game and an amount of depth that we offered for the game. And I think this planet, I think Metroid Prime 4 is definitely going to be the biggest Metroid Prime get. From what I remember, the Metroid Prime games would typically take somewhere between 15 and 20 hours for the average person, right? Unless you have already played through the game, you know how to speed run through it. But if it's like your first experience playing through the game, you are more likely to get somewhere between 15 and 20 hours with that particular game. For Metroid Prime 4, I imagine that the hour count will be much higher this time around. The expectation for big adventure games now, it's a lot longer than just 20 hours, right? So I could see Metroid Prime 4 maybe being more along the lines of a 40, 60 hour game. It's not an RPG, but it is an adventure game, kind of like a first-person, spacey Zelda game. Similar, but also there's some very key differences. But I'm sure a lot of you understand what I'm trying to refer to here. So I could see this game taking place in a big planet, much bigger than what we've seen in previous Metroid Prime games, and it will just be a super giant labyrinth. There'll be some really big spaces, right? Not entirely open world, because I think it's really important for Metroid Prime, for the Metroid series as a whole, to be kind of like a big labyrinth, and to have, a lot of doors to go through, corridors to run through. All that's also really important as well, and just creating a giant acid or alien field, like a sci-fi version of Hyrule Field, probably wouldn't be the best way to create a Metroid game. So I definitely think there's going to be some big open spaces, but there's also going to be a lot of corridors, a lot of narrow pathways, a lot of labyrinth-like structures, a lot of mazes and puzzles to deal with as well, and it's just going to be this huge interwoven world with all these different areas, and I think that has a whole bunch of potential in and of itself. And I also think that maybe we could see Samus use her ship a bit more this time around. Maybe she will travel around the planet to different areas. That could happen, especially if this world is a lot bigger than previous worlds we've actually explored in the Metroid Prime series. Now, in terms of the 2 twin planets option, I don't think they're going to go for that. They kind of basically did that with Metroid Prime 2, and that's the extent of what I expect with that. But if we look at the trend, we got 1 planet in Metroid Prime 1, 2 alternate worlds of 1 planet, basically 2 planets in Metroid Prime 2, and then in Metroid Prime 3 we had a few different planets to explore, but each one you couldn't explore as much as you could in Metroid Prime 2 and 1, but overall there's still a bit of exploration, but it was spread out within different areas. But you couldn't actually control your ship when you would travel between planets. I kind of love the idea. If they could pull this off, this is obviously much larger scope and we shouldn't expect it, but if they could pull off the depth and exploration that we got in the original Prime 1 for that one particular planet, but spread out, let's say, between 2 or 3, and then I'll also offer a few space stations, maybe some comets and asteroids and things along those lines to sort of explore in space between those planets, that would also be amazing. So yes, I am kind of referring to like an open world space environment, and maybe kind of like the way they handle it in Starlink, how you can fly through space in an open environment and then seamlessly transition between planets going through the atmosphere and such. Of course, within the actual worlds themselves, I don't think they should be open world. I think they should be kind of more of like a carefully woven environment with some big open spaces, but ultimately, you know, being that labyrinth-like structure that Metroid Prime, or just the whole Metroid series, has traditionally been. And for me, that's kind of a really exciting idea if they could pull that off. Will they be able to pull it off? I don't know. That's a lot to ask for, but if you look at the way the Metroid Prime series has gone, they have sort of expanded the scope game by game, so maybe the scope of this game will also be just as large. But at the same time, one huge freaking planet could also be an incredible scope as well. That we could, you know, if it's big, it's huge. There could be various areas to explore within just one big planet that could offer just as much gameplay, say if it were to be an open world space environment that had multiple planets. So either way would be really, really cool for me. But what I just want the most is for me and us as Metroid fans as a whole to get that Metroid experience where we can dive deep into these alien worlds, really dig in, and get that sense where you're finding, you know, something crazy, something weird and peculiar. Like, for example, in Metroid Prime 1, you kind of explore the Chozo ruins, but eventually you have to go back to it. And you realize, hey, there's a deeper section to these ruins, and when you get into that deeper section, you find more, you see more, you're like, oh my god, what's going on here? What are these ghosts? And then you find Flagger the boss, and you find even deeper, darker ruins, and that's all really cool. So I would really love it if there are other areas like that where you explore them at first and they seem pretty deep, but then eventually you kind of come back to it and you find an even deeper part of it, a mysterious part of it that kind of goes deeper and it has a whole other mystery and story behind it, a bigger legacy. And that to me is really, really cool because it has that spookiness to it, that mystery to it that adds to the mystique, and that just kind of like that deeper atmosphere, that darker sort of mysterious atmosphere that the Metroid series is known for. I would love to see that, regardless if it's just with one big planet or multiple planets. But at the same time, there is a big part of me that would love to be able to explore openly through space between planets. We could see the world be fleshed out in that way. But also, we should take into consideration that if they were to do that, they might also have a lot of NPC interactions, and maybe fans wouldn't want that because that could potentially take away from the isolation aspect of the Metroid series, so maybe they won't go for that. It's hard to say for sure, but I'm really curious what you guys have to say. So I just want to first off say that this is more of a discussion video. I know I'm probably going to put community response in the title of this video, but the reality is that I'm not actually taking the comments that were within the actual poll, mainly because I didn't say I was going to be using your comments, and in case there's anyone out there that to put their comments in that poll that don't want their comments to be public on a video, you know, I don't want to take that risk and upset anyone. But for the future, I probably will be putting up more polls, asking interesting questions about different Nintendo games, and I would love it if you guys were to share your opinions in those actual polls. Of course, vote as well, and then I could talk about it and feature your comments within these different community response videos. That'll be more simply discussion based. So yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And if this gains any traction, there could always be a follow-up, of course. And I'm still working on that Metroid video. Just a teaser, it is about exploration and traveling. That's why I came up with the idea for this particular poll. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening and watching up to this point. I really appreciate it. If you are new here and you love Nintendo content, make sure to subscribe, because that's all I do. I talk about Metroid, Smash, Pokemon, Zelda, Mario, Xenoblade, whatever is cool about Nintendo, I'm going to talk about it. So yeah, make sure to subscribe if you're new here, and if you guys haven't hit the notification bell yet, please do that, because then you will be updated whenever I upload new videos as well, and you're also probably a lot more likely to actually see my community posts, so you can participate within those polls as well. But that's all for now, everyone. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all really soon. Bye.